Voluntary Group Term Life, with illustrated help from Ben. Voluntary Group Term Life is an option available to you to fulfill the life insurance needs of you and your family. Life insurance is a critical piece of sound financial planning and something that everyone should consider carefully. The features or nuances of Voluntary Group Term Life can vary greatly from company to company, but the key characteristics remain very much the same. This video will cover the key characteristics and concepts of Voluntary Group Term Life, which you then can use to review the specifics of the plans available to you. Let's first review coverage limits. Voluntary Group Term Life is typically available for purchase in amounts as small as $5,000 or $10,000 of coverage, up to amounts as high as $500,000 of coverage, depending on your employer's group contract. Oftentimes, the maximum amount of coverage you may purchase is a multiple of your annual income or salary. For example, you may be able to purchase up to 3 or 5 times your annual income in Voluntary Group Term Life. Dependent coverage. With most Voluntary Group Term Life plans, the employee must first purchase coverage on themselves before a spouse or children become eligible for coverage. The coverage limits for the spouse or children are also typically limited by the amount of coverage the employee elects. An example of this may be a plan that limits spouse coverage to 50% of the employee's coverage. Another key feature of Voluntary Group Term Life is the rating or pricing structure. The coverage rates for Voluntary Group Term Life are age-banded, meaning you pay a certain rate for the band or bracket you are in at any given time. A typical age banding rate structure may be under age 25, age 25 to 29, 30 to 34, and so on. So as you age from one band to another, the rates you pay for coverage will increase. In your younger years, the rate increases may be rather small and inconsequential, but in your older years, each age bracket increase could be quite substantial. Reduction in benefits. As you may have gathered from the name, Voluntary Group Term Life is designed to cover you while you're a member of the group, or in other words, actively employed. It is not designed to cover you forever. A vast majority of Voluntary Group Term Life plans have what is called a reduction schedule associated with them. This means at certain ages, usually age 65 and 70, your coverage amount or death benefit reduces by a predetermined percentage listed in your contract. We don't intend to portray this as a good thing or a bad thing, rather simply as something you should be aware of. The final component of Voluntary Group Term Life, which you should understand, is portability. Portability is simply the answer to the question, if I leave my job or retire, can I take this with me? In many cases, the answer is yes, but there are often limitations. It is important that you review your plan specifics to understand the variables and restrictions of your policy's portability provision. And that's Voluntary Group Term Life in a nutshell. Now review your plan documents to determine the specifics of the plan available to you. There you go. Now you know. See ya.